in Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
All right, everybody. This is going to be a big night. We'd love having all of you here with us. This is Mike Alexander and also Jonathan Wilson. How you doing tonight,
Doing
Jonathan?
good. This is going to be a great show tonight.
This is the second of our election specials here. We did a lot of candidates last week. We had tremendous response. Tuesday is Election Day. Don't forget to go there. Don't forget to dig out your mail-in ballot, take it in, drop it off, do whatever you have to do. Make sure that you get there. If you lost your ballot, don't worry. Go to a local polling place, request a ballot, and you will be given one. You can go ahead and cast your ballot. Don't worry. If you don't know how that procedure works, they'll walk you through it. After all, they're helping thousands of illegal aliens to vote, so you coming in won't be any problem. Just be one other person without ID that day. We've got the call-in here numbers, 866-870-5752. We are not going to have a lot of time for phone calls. Feel free to call, but mostly we have candidates who are calling in, people that you need to hear from. We've got a full list. We have, starting out here tonight, Mark Muser, who's running for California Secretary of State. We're going to have Travis Allen, candidate for governor. He'll be coming on here before the end of the first half hour. If we have some time, we're going to take a call from Kevin Mottus, or Mottus, M-O-T-T-U-S. I believe that he's a Republican running for for U.S. Senator. He's going to tell us who he is. In the second half hour, that is from 8:30 to 9 p.m., we're going to have our old friend and absolute political stalwart, Craig Huey, will be on. He was unavailable tonight because he was traveling and doing other news shows, so we recorded a session with him earlier this week, and we cover all the judicial nominations in the county. So you're going to hear that recorded in the 8:30 hour. From 9 to 9:30, we're going to have on Ken Fuller, who is a candidate for Los Angeles Superior Court Judge, office number 126. He'll be on. We're also going to have Marshall Tuck, who is a candidate for Superintendent of Public Instruction. I'm particularly looking forward to that one. I want to know if he's in favor of school choice, what he plans to do with half of the California budget. Towards the end, we're going to have a call from a fellow that's describing himself as John Lower Taxes Low, L-O-E-W, who is a county for Los Angeles County Assessor. Believe it or not, he's a Democrat who is completely dedicated, so he says, to retaining and enforcing Proposition 13. So we've got it on. Now, the best thing to do, if you have a question or something that you think that we ought to know, I invite you to submit it through our Facebook account. Jonathan, could you tell the listeners what to do?
Yeah, go to Facebook and search for Radio Free Los Angeles, like the page, and you can watch our Facebook live feed, see the handsome guys here in the studio.
Right, exactly.
And if you have a question, you can just ask it on Facebook.
One look at us, you'll know, or at least me, you'll know why we have a radio show instead of a TV show. The other thing, too, Jonathan, as you know, is also the editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, published by the California Taxpayers Union. And you have all of our voter recommendations up there and links to other reference lists. There's a blend.
There's a lot of information on our site. So please visit CaliforniaTaxpayerUnion.org.
Taxpayers.
Taxpayers, yes.
So that's California, like it's spelled, taxpayers, Taxpayers, that's you, union.org. Org. Okay, and that'll get you to our recommendations. Now, without further delay, Kevin Modis, if you're listening, we're going to get to you when we can. We have people previously scheduled. We're going to get right into him. Please put on the line Mark Muser, line 2. Are you there, Mark?
How you doing?
Hey, we're doing great. Mark, you're right into the last hours of your campaign, and we appreciate your joining us here on this powerhouse radio station here in Los Angeles County, 870 The Answer, which is KRLA around here. Where are you based, Mark? Are you up north or down here?
Well, I jokingly say that I live at the hotel closest to where I speak the next day. For the last
Right.
7 months, I've driven 62,000 miles, and that does not include my airline miles. That is just miles on the car.
Yeah. How many? 62,000?
62,000.
Yeah, I believe it. California is a huge state. Just that people don't realize that here in Los Angeles County alone, we have just shy of 10 million people. Standing on its own, California would be the 8th or even 7th largest state in the union, just behind Michigan, which only has a few more people one day or the other. It depends upon how you're counting the illegal aliens. If you count them, we probably have more. Count fewer, we're there. Now, speaking of which, you're running for Secretary of State. Even though I know, tell the audience what the Secretary of State does, particularly in the area of elections.
Yes, the Secretary of State's main duty, what most people know him for, is they're the chief election officer of the state. That means they're responsible for the three main aspects of every election. The first being registering those people who are eligible to vote. The second aspect is running the elections. And then the third aspect is counting the vote, auditing, and inspecting the ballots to make sure that you actually have honest results.
Right.
So that is the main duty of the Secretary of State. You know, another part of elections is they're responsible for helping encouraging voter turnout. And the thing is, to do that duty, even though I'm not the Secretary of State, I want to remind all your listeners that, you know, Texas had their primaries 2 months ago, and they had multiple races that were within 5 votes in the primary.
Wow.
So your vote does matter. I mean, I think one was 5, one was 2. I think there's a third one that was like 10 votes.
Right.
Texas is smaller than California. So, I mean, if Texas can have that many races that came down to 10 votes, I would say that it's very important. If you were just thinking, my vote doesn't matter, your vote does matter. And there are many races out there that will just come down to a handful of votes. And that's why it's so critical that you don't just go out there and vote the governor race, U.S. Senate race, and then go home. You know, you need to do your research, look all the way down the ballot, vote as many races as you can do your good research on. That's why Craig Huey is such a great guy, because he covers all those races.
Yes.
And that is critical that people do vote.
What a lot of people may not realize is that the voter turnout here 4 years ago for this election, the gubernatorial election, was only 25%, and that skewed everything. It lowered the thresholds for initiatives, which is either good or bad, as depending upon your own perspective. But a lot of people just walked in. So we have, I can't tell you how many conservatives and Republicans I run into that whine and cry all the time about outcomes here in the state of California, but voter turnouts even among Republicans tend to be low, especially if there's two Democrats. But there's a whole heck of a lot more going on that ballot than just their local race. And one of them is your office. And if we had you there, what would your attitude be towards the federal government's attempts to get California to comply with federal law as regards cleaning up the voter rolls? That is, getting illegals off and getting dead people off of the rolls.
The thing is, if I was the Secretary of State, the federal government wouldn't be trying to clean up our voter rolls. There would not be a need to. You know, right now in L.A. County, we have 144% voter registration. That means there's more people on the voter rolls than are even eligible to vote in L.A. County. And you started off your show talking about illegals. Let me give you an interesting stat. In the state of California, we have jury service summons, and about 5.3% of jury service summons get returned with proof that the person receiving the jury service summons is not even a citizen of the United States.
Right.
Since the primary place that you get jury service summons is from the voter rolls, that, and with 20 million people on the voter rolls, that is a good indication that we actually have close to 1 million people on California's rolls who are not even citizens of the United States of America.
Absolutely astonishing. We got about 30 seconds here. I'm going to hold you over here to the first part of the next break when we're expecting Travis Allen to come on. Stay with us. This is Mike Alexander and Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles. The call-in number here is 866-870-5752. Be back with you in just a little bit. Okay, once again, Jonathan Wilson and Mike Alexander back with you here. We have Mark Muser, candidate for California Secretary of State. He's going to be on with us for another minute or two. Mark, before we forget it, we get another phone call coming behind us. If people want to support you financially, I mean, these last hours are huge. You use that money to make phone calls, to put people in the field, to walk precincts, and all that good stuff. Where do they go, and how do they help you?
Thank you very much for that. They can go to my website, which is markmeuser.com. That is MarkMeuser.com. That's markmeuser.com, MarkMeuser.com. If they can't make a contribution, but they definitely want to help us spread the words that we need to clean up our voter rolls, I would ask them to go to my Twitter, which is at Mark Meuser. Go to my Facebook page, which is Mark Meuser, and on both of those, I shoot videos of investigations that I have done of people who have actually seen voter fraud in the state of California. And I ask you to watch those videos of actual fraud going on in the state of California and share them. And these are told by people who have actually witnessed the voter fraud. It's not just me making it up. It's people who, voters like you, who have seen fraud. They tell me, we interview them, and they tell their stories. And so it is important. And right now the current Secretary of State believes that there is no such thing as voter fraud in the state of California, which is pretty crazy.
Laughable.
For someone to think nobody is going to abuse elections when there's so much power and so much money, it's just absolutely laughable. It'd be like a sheriff saying, nobody speeds, nobody commits crime, so me and my deputies, we're just going to sit in the office all day long. No, that's not what's going on. You can't find it if you don't go investigate it. And, that's what I've been doing on my campaign as I've been driving all over the states. We've been finding examples of fraud that my opponent says doesn't exist, and we are broadcasting and we're letting people know that there is fraud, and it's time to elect a Secretary of State who will actually clean it up.
Hey, Mark, from your lips to the voters' ears, we want to thank you. You can go to his website. It's Mark Muser. Meuser. I was mispronouncing it. MarkMeuser.com. Is that correct?
MarkMeuser.com. With
you
Meuser,
got it.
You're more sure about fair and honest elections.
Mark, thank you so much. Win, lose, or draw, I hope you'll be back on our program to talk about this extraordinarily important topic. Thanks so much for coming on with us.
I look forward to joining you again.
All right. We've had Mark Meuser, Meuser, candidate for California Secretary of State. He has received the endorsement of the California Taxpayers Union, and worthily so. We're waiting for Travis Allen to come on. In the meantime, I'd like to take Kevin Matus, or Motus. You say Matus, I say Motus. Are you there, Kevin?
Yeah, it's Kevin Matus.
Matus.
And people can find my information at Kevin for Senate 2018, Kevin for Senate 2018. And I'm excited to be running against Dianne Feinstein. I don't think anyone wants her to stay in office.
No.
And I'm all about protecting people's constitutional rights and fighting for our communities and doing what's right and being clear about taking care of the safety, the health, and the well-being of our people, because it's the best way to build our economy and build a strong California.
Totally with you. We've been having fun with Dianne, and and some of these other people all week joke around the CTU, that's California Taxpayers Union, is that somewhere a mortuary is missing a cadaver. You can't say that, I will. It's time for her to be gone together with the rest of them. But Kevin, give us a little bit of your background while we're waiting for Travis Allen. Do you currently hold office? What's your claim to fame? What would you like the voters to know about you and your background?
Yeah, let me tell you what I'm focused on. I'm focused on protecting our communities. And the biggest threat that most people don't know about, 5G technology, which is a new wireless technology that requires a cell tower transmitter every 2 to 10 homes.
Yeah.
Now, this is a problem because I consult with a team of experts, and they say that cancer rates around these cell towers are 3 to 4 times what they normally should be, and very serious neurological diseases increase as you get closer to these transmitters, some people getting sick within just a couple weeks. People can look at my website, Kevin for Senate 2018, for studies, conclusive peer-reviewed studies showing people getting very sick from this. They call it microwave sickness, and it's not right these transmitters are being put in without people's consent, without people's notification, in front of people's homes, and if you don't have a pole in front of your home, they'll put a pole up for you and put a transmitter right on top of it. You can't look at health, safety, or environmental issues. There is no review allowed for these transmitters. You must accept them, and when you get sick from these transmitters, you won't be able to sue either, so the industry has no reason to do it any differently. And the sad thing is we have a safe alternative, fiber optic all the way to the home, up to 10,000 times faster than wireless transmissions, and much more cyber secure. And as a Republican, I'm worried about cyber security and the security of our country. Also more private, and that what they want these transmitters in front of your home so they can collect information about what you're doing in your home privately and sell it to the highest bidder. This violates every one of the Republicans' most cherished values. It's wrong. Fiber optic is the solution. And if we install fiber optic, which you don't have to dig anymore, you can run it along the phone lines right into your home, we will have the most technologically advanced country in the world with speeds, again, up to 10,000 times faster than wireless transmissions.
Right.
We can do it all. We can empower our communities. We can empower our poor communities with the power of the internet, but we don't have to give them health effects, very serious cancerous and neurological health effects to go with it. We're doing what the industry wants. It's time our leaders, our political leaders, guide industry for what's truly the best solution, which is fiber optic all the way to the home, protect our families and communities, do what's right by America, uphold Republican values, which is truth, honesty, safety, security, and utmost, protecting our communities, which are the backbone of our nation. I think we tend to forget that with things happening so fast, that really it's our communities that make up this country and make us truly the strongest nation in the world.
Kevin, we want to thank you for coming on tonight. We're happy we could squeeze you in there. Once again, it's kevinforsenate.com. Is that correct? KevinForSenate2018.com. Got it. And is that F-O-R or the number 4?
Oh, F-O-R. Good question.
You got it. Comes up a lot. Thanks again, Kevin. Best of luck to you on Tuesday. Everybody get out there and cast a vote for anybody but Feinstein or whoever the left-wing whack job is running for her job, and there's plenty of them out there. Well, we've had 2 excellent candidates out there, and you know, folks, most people who run for office lose. That's just a reality. But one of the things, I want to thank each and every one of them who, for whatever reason, sometimes, yes, somebody wakes up and maybe we think it's an ego thing or something like that. But the fact is that after you file those papers for office, pretty soon it becomes work. They stick with it. They go out there. They engage. They do. They spend their own time. They spend their money. Mark Moiser, to pronounce his name correctly, has put 62,000 miles on his car running around the state, pursuing higher office and talking about important issues at the same time. I want everybody out there to remember that what we're dealing with here, first, last, and always, is a crisis of citizenship. We voters still own this country. We're the ones who went out there and put Donald Trump in office and took a very dangerous candidate, really a felon, out of the White House, Hillary Clinton. We've done a lot of things. We have a lot more work to do here in this country. We can't just sit around and let other people do it. So between now and Tuesday, I'm hoping that you will that you will not only vote, but you call your kids, your brothers, your sisters, or your parents in many cases. Make sure they got that vote on tap and that ballot. If take somebody to the to the polls. And in fact, if any of you out there need help getting to the polls, you can call us over at our office, and we'll try to get somebody to help you. We'll call somebody. You can call us at 626-792-1772. Just tell somebody there you need help to get to the polls. We'd be glad to help you do that. This is what we need to do for ourselves and our fellow citizens. I've got Gerald Plummer on line 3, Truman Democrat for whatever. Are you there, Gerald?
Oh, the whatever is United States Senator.
Okay, my notes were just incomplete here. Gerald, is it true that you're a Democrat?
My whole campaign is I am taking absolutely no money. I am doing this through social media. This is the future. We date online. We buy our products online. I am going to be the Amazon or Napster of politics.
All right.
I'm getting hundreds of people on my website right now. Go to GeraldPlummer.com. Find out my qualifications. I can do this. I've done everything.
We'd like to know something about you. Is it true that you're a Democrat?
It's true that I'm a Democrat.
All right. Well, that's no problem here. Let's just ask you a couple of questions here. Does that mean that taxes are, as far as you're concerned, are too high or too low?
Let me tell you something. I've never made a car payment. I've never run a balance on my credit card. I am fiscally conservative. I live within my means.
Are taxes too high or too low as far as you're concerned right now? Is government too big or too small?
I don't think government should be small. We are a big country.
All right.
I want government to be 300 million people, not 300 rich people that tell us how we're going to spend our money.
Okay. All right. Now, you called this program. That's very interesting. God, I wish we had more time. We're chock full tonight with other candidates, so I'm delighted to have, I don't know, do you regard yourself to be a populist, a socialist, a communist, what?
An idealist, but a realist.
Okay. So, how about the Supreme Court? Do you think it needs to become more conservative or less?
I think that our Supreme Court has moved our country forward when we had progressive Supreme Courts. That was Brown v. Board of Education. That was the Civil Rights Movement in the 60s. I want to be honest with you.
Yeah, you have been. All right, Gerald, we've only got 30 seconds to go. I'm glad that you felt that you could call here and get a fair hearing. We're chock full tonight. I would love, under other circumstances, have a longer conversation.
Give me 20 seconds to put my challenge to Dianne Feinstein. If she wants to leave a legacy, let her put her power behind me. The moment
you hear that music, Gerald?
Yeah.
Hey, Google Gerald Plummer, and you'll find his website. I want to thank him and our other guests for coming on thus far. This is Mike Alexander and Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles. You can call us at 866-870-5752. We're looking forward to the next segment. See if you can't get Travis on.
Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
All right. Back with you here for the second half hour of Radio Free Los Angeles. Mike Alexander, your host, and also my happy companion here.
That's right.
Jonathan Wilson, editor of the California Taxpayer Gazette. Tell them again where to go for voter recommendations. It's on Tuesday.
Yes, we have lots of information on our website, and that address is CaliforniaTaxpayersUnion.org. We've got last week's election roundup on Radio Free LA, and we've got all of the recommendations, state offices, California legislature, you name it. We got it.
Fantastic. We also have our recommendations on all the statewide offices there and a number of local offices. You will find there also our recommendations on the various propositions,
right?
Which are almost 100% negative out there. No reason.
And the judges, but we've got got a great segment coming up that will take care of your LA County judge choices.
Right on that. And that, of all the questions that we get, probably the most frequent question that we get is about who to vote for judge. A lot of people have pretty firm opinions about statewide offices and other offices, but they're always clueless about judges. It's hard to dig down deep. And the guy who's done the most work on this in the state is Craig Huey, who was himself at one time a candidate for Congress in the South Bay and also a candidate for Assembly in the South Bay. Even though he lost those elections, he has stayed engaged and is right now one of the guys who's making one of the greatest contributions to intelligent voting in the state. And for judges, you want to go to his website, which is judgevoter.com. Judge, just like it sounds, voter, VOTER, just like it sounds, .com. He has recommendations there, believe it or not, up and down the state. Now, Craig would have appeared here in the studio with us, but his other scheduling conflicts, many of them national TV commitments, prevented him from doing so. So earlier this week, we recorded 2 segments with him about the judges. We're going to play them right now, the first one. Then we'll come back before the break and visit with you again. So, Maestro, are you ready with that pre-recorded, the first segment? It'll be 11 minutes, and we'll come back on with you. Ready to go. Here's Craig Huey. All right, back with you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mike Alexander and Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles, and we're very happy and pleased to have with us for this segment Craig Huey, who is going to go over his judicial nominations. He puts out some wonderful letters, and I'm going to let him tell you about himself just in case you don't know him. Craig, are you there?
I am, Mike. Hi.
Hey, fantastic. Craig, thank you so much. You're a man that I got to know here several years ago when you were first running for the Assembly District, then down at Torrance. Then, as I recall, you ran for Congress as well, did you not?
I did, and came very close, just a couple of thousand votes of winning against basically $4 or $5 million spent against me. But yes. We learned a lot.
You sure did. And unlike a lot of candidates, and this is not a slam on candidates who kind of go off, but unlike a lot of candidates, you stayed involved. And we've known each other now for, I don't know what, about 8 or 9 years. I think your campaign was in 2010 or 12, whatever it was. But you haven't gone anywhere. And you have launched at least, 1 or 2 newsletters out there to help voters?
Yes, we have 2 of the largest newsletters in California. One, the Huey Report, which is on economic freedom and politics. And the other one, Reality Alert, which is the largest evangelical Christian worldview newsletter. And then we have created websites on how to vote your values for both of these, and also judgevoterguide.com.
Yes.
And so I'm on Fox a lot. I've written books, like a book coming out now on the deep state. I give a lot of speeches. But the judges are among the most difficult races ever to identify who to vote for. And we started tackling that about 20 years ago. And we've got this thing down where we know if these judges are good or bad, if they're judicial activists or strict constructionists.
Exactly. And as you know, we at TPAC, and whether you know it or not, we have recently reformed or rebranded as the California Taxpayers Union. One of our top requests is always on who to vote for judges. And despite my own background, I very rarely have the ability to know who to vote for. When I talk with lawyers or even other judges, they too are a bit in the dark. So your assistance in this area is very helpful. Now, our focus on this program, even though we're heard in several counties throughout Los Angeles, or Southern California, our focus right now is Los Angeles County judicial nominations. So if you could, maybe you could walk us through those nominees and let us know who people should be voting for. So I'll let you
listen.
take it right from the top.
Listeners in Ventura, listeners in Orange County, San Bernardino, Riverside County, or San Diego, anywhere in California, from Northern California to San Diego, if they want to, they can go to judgevoterguide.com and they'll see their county and they'll see the judges that are running. You know, Mike, the fact that you could not, your brilliant analysis of politics is well known. And the fact that you cannot identify where these candidates stand is no accident. You know, the judges do not want anyone to know where they stand on an issue. Right. And they usually say, well, because it might come up before my court, I'm not allowed to be able to tell you where I stand on a position. And that is false. And so we cut through that, and we analyze these judges, each and every one. We know more about these judges than probably their spouse knows. And here's the thing. These are so important. And, Mike, in this race, it's the Superior Court, and it's broken down by county. In November, it's going to be the Appellate Court, all important California Supreme Court. Right. The voters are going to be voting on. And in the Superior Court, they're powerhouses. There was a Riverside Superior Court judge that just made the decision that this pro-abortion bill that Sacramento recently passed was unconstitutional. Right. And they overturned it. There was another Los Angeles court, Superior Court, that said homeschooling in California was unconstitutional and illegal and tried to outlaw it, and that had to be overturned. So these courts are very, very important. And here's the thing. The progressive left has put $500,000 to $1.5 million behind some of these candidates we're going to be talking about, because George Soros, the Democratic Party, the labor unions, the gay rights groups, all of them want to control the judiciary and legislate from the bench.
Right. And God only knows, we've seen a ton of that in the Trump administration, but it isn't just the Trump administration. We've got 5 minutes to go, Craig, so I wanted to get a jump. The points that you've raised, you and I need to come back to time and again, and I hope you won't be a stranger to the show. Love to have you on. Let's start at the top on the judicial nominees here in Los Angeles County. Office number 4, we have the incumbent Veronica Salceda. She's being challenged by 2 deputy DAs, Matthew Schonbrun and Alfred Coletta. What can you tell me about this race and your recommendation?
In taking a look at this, what we have found is that Matthew is by far the liberal, the progressive in the race. Veronica tries to be kind of a liberal moderate, but Alfred comes out as a strong, strict constructionist, one who believes you don't legislate from the bench, but you interpret the law. And we will be much safer with Alfred as a judge, and that's who I'm recommending. He has actually contributed to Ed Royce and Rudy Giuliani and Republican Party of Orange County.
Good man.
He has 38 former judges and current ones behind him, 12 prosecutors, 28 attorneys. Good guy.
Great stuff. Let's go on to, so the call there, the Huey call for office number 4 is Alfred A. Coletta, Coletta. Going on to office number 16, it looks like an open office there with 3 candidates are Hubert Yun, Y-U-N, Deputy DA, Patricia Hunter, who's a deputy city attorney in L.A., and then a Sydney, looks like female, Jane Michel, Michel, who's a senior deputy prosecutor in the city of Redondo Beach. What say you?
Well, it's rare to have 2 good candidates running.
Uh-huh.
And the race for me is between Sydney and Hubert because they're so close on the issues. But we asked these judges, who's your favorite Supreme Court candidate? What would you do to protect the taxpayer? What would you do to protect homeschooling or religious liberty? And the one who really came out and got a very rare rating, we rate the candidates by 1 to 5. Herbert Yun got a 5.
Wow.
His answers were so superior that I was really surprised. He's with a gang murder. He's a gang murder prosecutor in L.A. County.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy is really good.
Great, and he deals with the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Moving on to office number 20, 2 candidates are Mary Ann Escalante, who's a deputy DA, versus Wendy Siegel, Segall, who's also a deputy DA. What's the call between these 2?
Well, Mary Ann, she's endorsed by conservative judges, conservative groups. She was the one who, her son was at Cottonwood Christian Center when they tried to shut down things that were going on there. She is awesome, and we analyzed who she thinks is the best Supreme Court judge, and it was really amazing. I think Mary Ann would be the right person to vote. Strict constructionist, she got 4 stars.
Hey, we got a minute and a half to go, so the call is, for this segment, the call then between Escalante and Siegel is Mary Ann Escalante. Going on to office number 60, candidates are Tony Cho, CHO, who's a deputy DA, Ben Colella, also a deputy DA, and then Holly Hancock, who seems to be private counsel. What's your call on those 3?
Yes, and taking a look at those, it's very, very disturbing how bad these candidates are. We're recommending Tony only with a 2-star. In other words, better than the worst. And so he's a liberal progressive, but the other 2 are worse. So we're recommending Tony.
Okay, office number 60, Tony Cho, CHO, the least worst of the 3 candidates. Forgive the bad grammar. Hey, we're coming up on a break. We've been very fortunate to have with us Craig Huey, author of several major political newsletters in this state and frequent guest on Fox News and elsewhere. He's going over with all of us the judicial candidates that'll be on your ballot here in just less than a week. So we'll be back with you after the break. All right, back with Mike Alexander, your host here for Radio Free Los Angeles, as well as Jonathan Wilson, my cohort and editor of the California Taxpayer Gazette, which is really kicking off. We have the pleasure of having with us Craig Huey, author of several political reports, and a fellow who has made a living in the political world, so to speak, off of his judicial nominee analysis. Nobody knows more. Nobody digs deeper. Nobody's recommendations are more reliable than Craig Huey's. Craig, thanks for being with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Go ahead. I'm looking at these judges. Many times people feel bad about voting for a more liberal judge, but when they're up against one who wants to transform society and politics out of the bench and bypass the legislature, many times what we're doing is we're strategically limiting evil. And that's why, Mike, sometimes I'll recommend someone and hold my nose because I know they'll do less damage.
Hey, we're totally with you. You know, we live in the real world. We do not have the luxury, especially in the state of California, of ideological purity, and we have to make choices in the real world. We can't just sit it out. And in fact, if there is a single biggest evil in this state, it's low voter turnout, particularly among Republicans and others who call themselves conservatives. If you're staying home and you're not showing up, you're the problem, not the solution. Please don't tell us that you don't have any choices. You do have choices in the real world. And Craig is one of the people who stayed engaged. Our organization is stayed engaged. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, here in the state of California, we have probably 5 million people who identify as either Republican, conservative, or whatever, and there's a ton of Democrats who agree with us on issues. If we engage, we can change the state. We don't have to just sit here, and that's why Craig and I are getting together here. As it happens, this is pre-recorded, but on Sunday nights we gather with each other to talk about what we can do to make California golden again. And Craig, thank you for being out there and laboring in the vineyards with us.
Oh, absolutely. And these judges couldn't be more of an important vote. And Mike, the fact is that your listeners could help just make the difference. One or two votes can make a difference in these races. So few people are going to be voting in this election. One vote's like 5, because this is not a presidential race. This is a gubernatorial. And this is a primary. So many fewer people vote in a primary. So the leverage your listeners have is huge. And the effort, if they're not even sure about the other races, to come out and vote for these judges is really important.
It is, particularly because a lot of people just don't vote for judges if they don't know. So your recommendations and this segment on our show is helping to fill that gap. Let's go to office number 63, Malcolm Mackey, judge of the LA Superior Court. He's been around for a long time. He does he
is 89.
Yeah.
He has had huge controvery. A lot of people oppose him because of his age. A lot of them oppose him because of some of his past. And quite frankly, I've given him a 5 on the 1 to 10 scale. He is not a good candidate. He is not good as far as his decision making. He is a little bit more pro-business, but the one he's running against, Anthony Lewis, he gets a 1 star, and Malcolm gets a 2 star. In other words, hold your nose, vote for Malcolm, because Anthony is one of these candidates that's being fully funded by the progressive movement. They're trying to buy this election with this candidate. This candidate has the Stonewall Democratic Club and all these Democrat clubs behind him. And this is a race where we're really trying to stop somebody who wants to legislate from the bench.
Got it. Office number 63, Malcolm Mackey and the Mark of Cain on Anthony Lewis. Let's go on to office number 67. We have 3. This appears to be an open judicial office as well. Candidates are Dennis Vincent, Deputy DA, Maria Lucy Armendariz, who is a judge of the State Bar Court, not a regular judge. Not a criticism, that's just who she is. And then third, we have Onika Valle Cole, who identifies herself as an attorney and a mother. That's great. Which one of these 3 do you like?
Yeah, it's when you look at that, Valia Cole and Maria Lucy, they're liberal Democrats. They're fighting it out with each other, thinking they're going to win this race. And we're recommending that Dennis Vincent, giving him a 2. Hold your nose, but boy, he's so much superior than these others who are really political activists.
Totally with you. Office number 71. 2 candidates are Danielle Gibbons, who is a Superior Court commissioner. That is, she sits on cases, but is not technically a judge. And then we have David Berger, Deputy DA. Which one of these do you like?
We have given David Berger a 4.
Okay.
I'm sorry, a 5 out of 5. He stands so good on all of his answers. He's filled out our questionnaire completely. He's been bold in saying that he believes in the Constitution, will stick by the Constitution, and will not legislate from the bench. And so we had actually given him a rating of 9 out of 10 or 5 stars. David Berger.
Sounds good. Moving on. Office number 113. Candidates are Javier Perez, who is a deputy DA, Stephen Schreiner, also a deputy DA, and Michael Ribbons, R-I-B-O-N-S, who is an arbitrator and private attorney. Which one of these guys do you like?
I've given a 4-star to Stephen Schreiner. And Stephen, he's contributed to the Los Angeles Lincoln Club 5 times, been endorsed by Mike Antonovich, and he's a strong supporter of law and order and victims' rights.
Hey, from your lips to the voters' ears. Moving on. Office number 118. Candidates are David Diamond, private counsel, private attorney, versus Troy Davis, Deputy District Attorney, City of L.A. What's the call on these guys?
This is another one where I really wish we had a conservative, libertarian, constitutional candidate, but we don't. So we've given a 2-star to Troy Davis because the alternative is too bad. This David Diamond, not only is he a liberal Democrat, he praises Jerry Brown for his appointments, and he loves liberal judges.
He's
so we've
sick
got to
of
go
it.
for Troy.
Okay, hold your nose and vote for Troy Davis, Deputy DA. 2 to go. Office number 126. Renee Caldwell Gilbertson, Senior Deputy County Counsel, so she's a bureaucrat, versus Shlomo Freeman, who is a private attorney, and finally Ken Fuller, Deputy DA. Who's the pick here?
We're strongly recommending with 3 stars Ken Fuller. And Ken Fuller, he's a deputy district attorney, has jury trial conviction rate of over 90%. He serves as a captain in the judge advocate office of the U.S. Air Force. And he's a little light on experience, but he is conservative.
Good.
And he is one who will uphold the Constitution.
Yeah, it doesn't take a genius to be a judge. It just takes, you need to be a good lawyer, have integrity, willing to work hard, and be fair, 2 minutes to go. Office number 146, candidates are Armando Duron, Superior Court Commissioner, County of Los Angeles, versus Emily Teresa Spear, S-P-E-A-R, Deputy DA. Who's the favorite here?
This is another one, hold your nose. We give 2 to Emily, and we say vote for Emily Spear. She's a tough deputy district attorney who's prosecuted murders, and although Spear lacks some of the experience, she is so far preferable to liberal activist Duran, who most likely will completely impose her own political views on the people before her court. She will legislate from the bench. So we say vote for Emily Spear.
I'm with you there. Craig, with 1 minute to go, would you please give your various websites, starting with the judicial, where people can go to sign up for your newsletter, sign up for your recommendations?
Yes, thank you. JudgeVoterGuide.com, JudgeVoterGuide.com for all the judges from Northern California to San Diego, and then CraigHuey.com, CraigHuey.com. We rate all the candidates, governors, Congress, Board of Equalization, City Council, from Northern California down to Southern California. And if you go to CraigHuey.com, you'll also see the judges there.
30 seconds to go. Craig, I want to thank you so much for coming on and giving us the benefit of your wisdom and expertise, also giving us an opportunity to renew our friendship. Please give my personal regards to your wife and to your son, and we wish him a speedy recovery.
Thank you, Mike, very much.
All right. Now, 10 seconds to go. We want to thank all of you for coming here tonight. We'll be back after the break. RadioFreeLosAngeles.net.
Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
All right, back with you, Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, for the last half hour of our show. Once again, we're chock-a-block full. We're going to lead off with candidate for Judicial Office 126, Ken Fuller, followed by Marshall Tuck, if they called in, as well as John, Lower Taxes Low. Without further ado, let's get Ken Fuller on the line. Are you there, Mr. Fuller?
Yes. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. As you know, I know you were listening to the last part of the Huey interview because I saw your call was online there. So as you know, the California Taxpayers Union has already endorsed you for this important office. But we want you to take this opportunity to introduce yourself more fully to our audience. Tell them a little bit about your background, if you would, please. May I call you Ken?
Oh, absolutely.
Please call me Mike. Fire away, Ken.
Thank you. Yes. Well, I've been a deputy DA for about 12 years. I've worked in the DA's office for about 14. I've been in almost every type of specialized unit in the DA's office, ranging from the Special Victims Unit, where we prosecute sex crimes against children.
Hey, Ken, may I interrupt you, Ken? Are you calling us on a cell phone?
Yes.
All right, let's try it again. You're breaking up. You mentioned that you're a deputy district attorney with the gang unit, heavy duty prosecutions. Go ahead.
Yes. I was in the Special Victims Unit, the Victim Impact Program, prosecuting sex crimes cases against children. And then I tried out and was accepted into the Hardcore Gang Division, which prosecuted the most difficult of gang homicide cases. And I've also done some complex corporate litigation in the Environmental Crimes Unit. And I'm also a captain in the Air Force JAG Corps Reserve. I earned the Excellence in Advocacy Award, American Trial Lawyers Association Award, and I'll also have a distinction of providing the most legal assistance hours to our men and women in uniform at LA Air Force Base than any other reservists on the base. I've also done community policing in the sense that I was in a federal program targeting specific national gangs like the Grape Street Gang and the Black Keystone.
Hey, hello, Sterling. Somebody in there cut off.
I think we lost the cell signal.
We lost the signal. Ken Fuller, if you can hear us, please call back in. We want to pick you up on that line. In the meanwhile, I don't think we have anybody else calling in. While we're trying to reconnect with Ken Fuller, let me bring on very briefly Mike Mays, M-A-I-Z, from Sherman Oaks, Trump Radio Network radio host. Mike, you got a minute or two. We're crammed full. If you're in the radio business, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, sure. This is a big weekend. Mike Alexander, thanks for having me on. Yeah, well, I thought it was great that you had the judicial assistance, because we don't know about these judges. We look for someone that has a last name. If we're Spanish, we look for someone that has a Spanish surname, and so on and so forth, and the statistics back that up. So it was really great that you had the representative there to help guide us through to see.
That's Craig Huey. Hey, Mike, I want you to hold on here.
Sure.
Did we get Ken back on the line? If we have Ken back on the line, we need to take him. Ken, are you there?
Hello.
Hey, there we are. Dropped a call or some such thing. I don't know if we did it or you did it. But at any rate, when we last spoke, you mentioned that in addition to your other legal experience, you had been had prosecuted corporate environmental crimes.
Yes.
Now, if you would, tell us about your opposition. I mean, sometimes lawyers are a little bit reluctant to talk about other lawyers. I think even one of the other candidates may work in the same office with you. So a lot of you guys have very similar background. You're district attorneys. You prosecute crimes. You have high conviction rates. There's usually no doubt that the judges, most judges, are going to be law and order oriented, or at least say that. But yet there are important differences among you. Could you tell us some of those differences between you and your competitors?
Yes, I mean I think the most key difference is that I'm the only candidate with jury trial experience. I'm the only candidate with criminal experience, both civil and criminal experience. I'm the only candidate with military leadership experience. And, in terms of breadth and diversity of experience, I think that, I'm your candidate across, every type of spectrum. I mean, I have the endorsement of the LA Police Protective League, the Sheriff's Department Union, various different police officer organizations. My opponent has no law enforcement organization endorsements.
Yes.
Something I wanted to clarify is that, unfortunately, her campaign released various mailers that falsely stated that she was a prosecutor and also falsely stated that she was endorsed by law enforcement, both of which are completely not true.
Mm-hmm.
She had to issue a media release to that effect, but unfortunately, unringing that bell is difficult, as you might imagine.
Yep.
So that's one reason
typical
we wanted to reach
political
out and get the word
stunt.
out.
Hey, because we lost you for a couple of minutes, and because we have so many other folks on tonight, we're going to have to cut this a little bit short. The candidate that we have on right now is Ken Fuller. Ken, for those who want to learn more about you, where should they go and how can they contribute to your campaign?
Yes, it's www.fullerforjudge.com.
All right. We have one minute to go. www.fullerforjudge.com. Go there. Click the contribute button. These county-wide offices, they're 10 million people. It's like running for judge in the state of Michigan. It's tough. So these candidates need all the help that you can get. You can also go to our website or to judgevoter.com for further guidance on all this, to find out more about the other candidates. Ken, thank you so much. This is Mike Alexander and Jonathan Wilson for Radio Free Los Angeles. We'll be back in just 60 seconds.
If you'd like to talk with Radio Free Los Angeles, the phone lines are wide open. 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We're live, local, and here to talk with you. 866-870-KRLA.
All right, Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, back with you, Radio Free Los Angeles. If you want to support us, please go to radiofreelosangeles.org. It's very, very important. And now we would be very remiss if we did not take a few moments out to ask you to go to that website, but more importantly, to thank those people, those listeners, those citizens who have contributed. Remember, this is citizen-sponsored radio. Jonathan.
Yeah, again, that web address is radiofreelosangeles.net.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we definitely, we're citizen-sponsored radio, so we rely on your contributions. We wanted to give a shout-out to some of our contributors. First of all, Jim in Altadena has been a loyal, faithful contributor. Juan Tierra in Mount Washington.
Many years.
Yes,
yep.
Many years. Ed and Judy in Pasadena. And then we have some, also Lisa from Baldwin Park.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Yeah, she gave us a nice, generous contribution.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yes, thank you. And Thane from Covina, thank you. Jean from South Pasadena. and Christopher from San Marino.
Fantastic. These are just a few of our contributors. We want you all to know how much we appreciate it. You make this show possible, along with many other longtime contributors. Next up on our candidate interviews is Marshall Tuck. Marshall Tuck is a candidate for Superintendent of Public Instruction. We now have him on line 2. Marshall, are you there?
I am, and I appreciate you focusing on this race and focusing on our kids' future. Thanks so much, Mike, for taking the time.
Well, it's fantastic. Marshall, what most people in this state don't know, but I'm sure you do, is that almost half of our state budget, by law, is dedicated to this enterprise, which pretends to be education. In your running for superintendent of public instruction, to a major extent, you're going to be the one bureaucrat at the very top of this beast. It's not performing very well. It probably needs to be dismantled. What do you plan to do? What do you think you can be done to get a handle on this and the toughest teacher union in the world, the California Teachers Association?
Yeah, step one, Mike, you mentioned bureaucrats, so I'm definitely not a bureaucrat. This position, unfortunately, for the last 25 years, this is the top education official in the state, and it's been held by politicians and bureaucrats. And I'm actually an educator who spent 16 years working in our schools in some of the most challenging areas of LA and delivering really strong results for our kids. So we've got to, as you mentioned, we have to completely change our public education system in California. It's not working well for our kids. And, tomorrow morning, 6.2 million students will go to public schools in the state of California, and over 3 million cannot read and write at grade level.
Right.
Think about that for a second.
Sure. May I call you Marshall?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, please call me Mike. Marshall, you're not the first guy to make these observations, one after another. This job is defeated lots of good men. I don't know, there may have been some women who held this position. Time after time, person after person, they failed in this job. Why? And I don't mean this as a hostile question, Marshall. I think it's a legitimate question. Why do you think you can succeed when everyone else has failed?
Yeah, well, I'm the only person in this job who's actually turned around low-performing schools in California. I've done this work before. So as I mentioned, the last 25 years, this position has been held by politicians, members of the legislature who go to run for state superintendent. I helped create a group called Green Dot Public Schools, which opened charter schools in the highest need areas of L.A.
That's right.
Helped create 10 new schools, serving the highest poverty kids. 8 of those 10 schools, Mike, recognized by U.S. News and World Report amongst the best high schools in the country today. That's what's possible in our public schools. And then I went and did work in district public schools, turning around schools in Watts and East LA and South LA. And our schools in 2008 had a 36% graduation rate when we first started working there, just an abysmal graduation rate. It's 81% today. So I've actually done this work before. I've taken on the bureaucracy. I've taken on the system and driven real change. And that's because I focus on how do we support our teachers and principals, how do we get our parents involved, and most importantly, how do we change a system and a status quo that's totally broken and put our kids first?
Well, talk about changing the status quo and putting kids first. As you may or may not know, one of the principal issues of the California Taxpayers Union and one of the principal focuses of this particular radio program is school choice that would permit parents to make the education choices, establish educational savings accounts, fund them with $10,000 each year per kid per year, and then let the parents send the children to an accredited school of their choice, public, private, parochial, or otherwise. What's your reaction to that program? You for or against?
Well, as I mentioned, I support nonprofit charter schools. I'm a supporter of, and to make sure your listeners understand, my opponent's not. But I support nonprofit charter schools. I worked for 5 years, as I mentioned, Green Dot Public Schools, one of the more effective charter schools in the state of California. So I think that nonprofit charter schools are an important part of our public education system, and that's something that I'll fight for. And right now, my main opponent in this race is calling for a moratorium on charter schools in California.
Oh, yeah. They don't want any competition, and you want to put competition into the system via charter schools, I don't blame you. We want to take it the next step and actually let parents make these decisions. I can understand that you don't want to incur the collective wrath of the California Teachers Association, at least not tonight. So, Marshall, if our listeners want to support you, give us your website here so that they can go there, find out more about you, and if they want, contribute to your campaign. Where do they go?
I appreciate that, Mike. It's
sure.
MarshallTuck.com. Again, MarshallTuck.com. And this campaign's all about change. And as you mentioned, if we're going to put our kids first and really take on a broken status quo and a broken bureaucracy, we need someone who's done it before. So hope folks will go to MarshallTuck.com, get behind our campaign, and vote for us on Tuesday, and let's all work together and truly give our kids what they deserve, which is a quality school.
You got it. Marshall, thanks so much for coming on. Good luck to you out there. We've got one more candidate coming up here. We have on line 6, and that would be John Lowe, Loew. He likes to call himself. See, what's your handle here? Lower taxes, John. Lower taxes, low. Are you there, John?
I am, Mr. Alexander.
Well, please make it Mike, if I may call you John.
Absolutely.
All right.
And I would like to express my gratitude for the ringing endorsement for LA County Assessor from the California Taxpayers Union.
Well, you got it. You're a Democrat. Everybody out there, I'm talking to a Democrat now, and as we've said here many times before, we don't agree on everything, but lots of us in this state, regardless of party, agree with each other on a lot of issues. And one of the issues that we agree on is Proposition 13. And as I'm given to understand it, John, you are a firm supporter of Proposition 13.
Well, I always have been a supporter of Proposition 13. I've been with the assessor's office for 29 years. And let me just say, I'm registered as a Democrat. I am and always have been a fiscal conservative. I lean a little bit, on the social issues. What I probably should do is become an independent, decline to state or independent voter. I just haven't done it yet, Mike.
Sure.
But, I'm here for, tax limitation and tax relief for the, the beleaguered citizens and taxpayers.
Now, John, I certainly know what you guys do. In fact, I deal with you folks all the time in the course of trust administration and so forth. But lots of people don't know exactly what the county tax assessor does or how in the world it makes any difference who is the county tax assessor. I know that it does. You know that it does. Please tell our listeners why what's so important.
Well, the assessor's office is one of the least glamorous but most important office of the 3 county-wide elected offices there are. Most people that own property, that live in homes, don't have much to do with the sheriff, who's a county-wide elected official, or the district attorney. Everybody gets a tax bill, especially people that live in their own homes. And usually that tax bill is for thousands of dollars. And if you live in your home, you will notice on your tax bill that you get a credit, what they call a homeowner's exemption. It saves you $70 on your $4,000 tax bill. And Mike, it's been $70 since 1978. It doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I think is most important, protecting Prop 13. They talk about a split roll.
Yes.
I can get into that later, but I think that's silly. There's no reason to have a split roll. We can keep Prop 13. We can give some tax relief to homeowners, to people that live in their homes or their condos, by changing that homeowner's exemption to about 15 to 25% of assessed value, so that it goes up with your assessed value and saves you about $1,000 a year. That's what I would be after.
Sure, and a lot of people don't realize that even under Proposition 13, the county is able to increase the assessments by up to 1% a year. Is that correct?
Maximum of 2% per year,
2%.
Automatically every year.
Right.
Unless values go down, and then we can give them some temporary reduction.
Right, and as a result, even if you've with Prop 13, fully in force over a period of 10, 15, 20 years, even if you've been in your house continuously, your property taxes are going up at all times. And property tax levels, especially for new owners, are starting to get very high again. Would you agree with me, John, that leaving out the people who have this inherited Prop 13 status, that the new owners are paying really very high and onerous property taxes?
Well, I would agree, Mike. I would agree with you that new people that buy their property are paying onerous taxes, but that's not because that's not because the people that have been in their property for a long time aren't. They're paying onerous property taxes because every year their bonded indebtedness,
yes,
and their direct assessments are going up. One of the things about Prop 13 that we need to make very clear is the people that have been in their homes for many years, they need to be protected, and that's the whole thing of Prop 13.
Yes, John Lowe, give us your website. We're down under a minute. Give us your website where people should go to learn more about you and help you with your campaign.
I'm not collecting any contributions. People are voting for me because of my name, and they need to know that I have been with the office for 29 years.
All right.
This is an office that needs someone that knows how to value property, not a professional politician that's come in the office and brought his underboss in there and is getting paid $450,000 a year.
John Lowe, Loew for LA County Assessor. This is the end of the week. We're done right now, aren't we, Kevin? Is this the end of the show? Okay, we're done. Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, go vote on Tuesday and go vote for all these wonderful men and women who are out there giving their all for you. And join us again next week. This is Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, RadioFreeLosAngeles.net.